Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching The Agenda. The Cannabis Development Council of South Africa, CDCSA, has released a statement to say they accept yesterday's ruling by the Constitutional Court to allow adults to cultivate, possess and or use the plant in their private spaces. CDCSA says it salutes our justice system and that this development will benefit many of our people. We're now joined from the organization by Dr Thandeka Kunene, who calls herself the self-acclaimed Cannabis Queen, and we're also joined by Gareth Prince. Gareth, you brought about the motion in Cape Town that went to the Cape Town High Court that started this process going. Take us back to that.
Yes, I was arrested on the 6th of June 2012 for having cannabis in my house, and that was what initiated this whole journey. I then challenged the laws that criminalized cannabis, and that culminated in the matter before the Western Cape High Court. And then when the Western Cape High Court unanimously decided on the 31st of March last year that these laws were unconstitutional. Now, the way our law works in this country is that any finding of unconstitutionality by a high court had to be confirmed by our highest court, the Constitutional Court. And that is what happened yesterday.
It's now decriminalized, and the CDCSA has welcomed the development. Thandeka, you are a doctor in mathematics, but you also have a family history where your grandmother was a traditional doctor. So your interest in this discussion spans from tradition to the academia. Tell us about that journey.
First of all, I want to congratulate Ras Prince. We were talking about when we were students and the Rastas, because somewhere there I moved from a blood of traditional doctor to Rastafari. In fact, you know, I can say I was called to use cannabis to help create abundance and remove poverty. And that's why it's so important what happened yesterday. It allows the Rastafari community, the traditional healers, the traditional authorities like the Pondos, the Zulus, the Khoisan to actually do their customs without being scared, and the doctors to heal without. And
it has that much impact.
It has that much impact. And mathematically, we've proved when government wanted statistical significant results, we've proved that industrial cannabis can actually remove poverty, and medical cannabis can actually remove the disease. So we can actually deliver the needy and the poor from the wicked hands of poverty and disease.
You coming to this conversation as the organization CDCSA, but you also own a firm called House of Hemp, and we'll talk about that. But Gareth, you coming in as what the judge referred to, the adult individual who can decide how to use his time and how to use cannabis. What does this mean for you?
Well, in a constitutional democracy, we must accept that individuals have the right to determine their own life projects. Now, under apartheid, government wanted to prescribe to us how we should live, what we should do. In a constitutional democracy, the government does not have that right. People have the right to determine their own life projects, even if that life project is an unpopular one. The fact that there are homosexuals in this country, we all have to learn to live with that, even though most of us feel that, well, it's ungodly. But in a constitutional democracy, there is space for all of us. So we must tolerate that which we do not necessarily agree with. The fact that my life project involves cannabis is what the rest of South Africa must respect, because it doesn't threaten them in the exercise of their rights. They don't need to necessarily to agree with it, but they must respect and tolerate it, because it's part of my freedom, my dignity, and my sense of being equal before the law and with other people to be able to use my plant that I want to use. If I don't want to use tobacco, it's my right. I want to use cannabis, and that choice of mine should be respected.
But the Deputy Chief Justice went to pains to emphasize that it should be an adult. Do you take into consideration the concerns of people who are worried about kids being encouraged to smoke?
Yes, of course. All of us must agree that substance abuse is a legitimate problem within our society.
South Africa,
but what we are saying is that that criminalizing it aggravated the problem. It drove it underground. So that's we were never allowed to really rationally address the problem. We are saying that now that the criminal stigma has been removed, we are in a much better position to inform and educate and arm people with the proper knowledge in order for them to make good choices in life. What people also need to understand that you cannot view the cannabis issue in a vacuum. The socio-economic conditions of the people in this country is what drives a lot of people to drugs. And then also the criminal nature of this culture is also what has fueled this whole criminality around substances within society. And that is what we want to address, and that is what the judgment yesterday told the government of South Africa they need to redress.
Dr. Kunene, your statement speaks about the formalization of national cannabis production and consumption across industrial, medical, nutritional, traditional, cultural, and responsible adult use. What do you mean?
Well, you know, about a year ago, we got together as the different sectors who were ganja lobbyists, who had indigenous rights, like the Rastas, the healers, and the tribes, who had indigenous rights to cannabis, and what we call the cannabis experts. We came together and said, you know, it's coming. America is legalizing. China has never actually banned hemp. India is producing big time. Everyone is moving towards an industrial, agricultural, ecological revolution, and it's based on cannabis and its rotational crops. So as an industry, let's organize ourselves. Let's make sure that nobody produces and doesn't pay tax.
It's an important conversation, but unfortunately, as it happens with television, there are time constraints. But Prince, tell us quickly, you say it was an individual project for you. Is it totally individual, or do you also recognize the benefits?
No, it has never been an individual product for me. It's just that I was the individual that was blessed and fortunate enough in order to bring the matter to court. But I've always spoken on behalf of the Rastafari people, because it is as a Rastafari that I've had this opposition with the law. And I never wanted to be at loggerheads with my government, because my government is for me. I'm part of this government.
Yes.
So, yes, it's always been a community thing and a thing for the people of Africa.
Yeah. So overall celebration, I suppose.
Celebration, and we ask, please, can we produce the cannabis and export it? And let us be a world power in South Africa. Can our government partner with the people, and let's produce it?
It will be a continuing conversation.
Thank
Gareth
you.
Prince, thank you so much for making the time, and Dr. Thandeka Kunene. They brought some friends along with them for support, and we thank you for that. But as we mentioned earlier, Nedbank is